Welcome back to the deep dive. And, usually when we sit down to do this, we have this massive stack of papers in front of us.
Oh, yeah. White papers, PDFs, you know the drill.
Exactly. Leaked memos, 10-page academic reports.
Mhm.
But today, the table is completely empty.
Physically empty, maybe, but digitally. We're looking at something that is, I think, way more interesting because of how little there is.
We're looking at a ghost.
I think
Digital
that's awesome.
breadcrumb, really.
Yeah.
Our entire source material for this deep dive is a single redirect notice.
Right, that little screen you get sometimes.
Yeah, you click a link and the internet just hiccups for a second. It says the previous page is sending you to, and then there's a URL.
It's the connective tissue of the web. Most people just blink and they miss it.
For sure.
But if you hit the stop button at just the right moment, like we did, that URL string, that's often where the real story is. It's the raw data before the marketing team gets to it.
That's it, exactly. We've frozen the frame on a redirect. It's sending us to a story on the news.com.pk. But we are not reading the story today. We are reading the map.
And that map is the URL slug, the text after the slash.
And it reads, ByteDance's Seedance 20 marks new era of cinematic eye-generated videos. Here's how.
That is an incredibly dense string of text. It looks like nothing, like just a standard headline. But if you treat it like code, there's just so much to unpack there.
It's a headline, a spec sheet, and a manifesto all rolled into one. So let's do it. Let's peel this apart. We have a who, a what, a version number.
A massive claim about the future of media.
And a promise of a methodology. And that who, right at the beginning, ByteDance's, that changes everything, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Let's start there. ByteDance. This isn't some scrappy startup in a garage.
No, not at all.
I mean, if this URL started with OpenAI or Google, we'd read it one way. But ByteDance, they're the architects of the modern attention economy. They own TikTok, they own Douyin.
They own the algorithm that keeps half the planet scrolling.
So when you see their name attached to AI-generated videos,
It feels inevitable, but also kind of aggressive.
it's pure vertical integration. Think about it. Right now, ByteDance gives you the platform to watch videos.
Right.
If they can also give you the tool to create the video, they own the entire supply chain. They don't need creators to buy expensive cameras or lights.
They become the studio and the cinema?
Precisely. Usually the platform and the camera are two different companies. You buy a Sony camera to put a video on YouTube.
And ByteDance is saying, we'll be the Sony and the YouTube.
Exactly. And that brings us to the product name that's buried in there, Seedance. Seedance.
I've been staring at that word, Seedance. My brain, it immediately goes to the obvious portmanteau, see and dance.
Visuals and movement.
Yeah, it feels very on brand for the company that made lip syncing a global phenomenon.
And that's the obvious read. And it works. It's great marketing. It implies fluidity, rhythm. But there's a much more technical angle here if you know how generative AI actually works.
Oh, okay, what am I missing?
Well, in generative models, specifically diffusion models, everything starts with a seed.
Right, the seed is that random number that creates the initial static, the noise.
Exactly. The noise the image gets pulled out of. And one of the biggest problems in AI video right now is that the seed is too chaotic.
The boiling effect.
The boiling. You generate frame 1, it looks great. You generate frame 2, the seed shifts a tiny bit and the background warps, or a face changes shape. It looks like it's boiling because the randomness isn't controlled.
So you think Seedance isn't just Seedance, you think it's Seedance.
I think it's a very clever double entendre.
It's like choreographing the mathematical seeds.
Yes. If you can make the seed dance, if you can control that random noise so it flows smoothly from one frame to the next, you solve the consistency problem. You stop the boiling.
That is a fascinating way to look at it. It implies real control. They're not just generating cool images, they're controlling the underlying math of the chaos.
Which segues perfectly into the next bit, the 20.
2.0. This is where I pause. 2.0. Why highlight that? I mean, my toaster probably has a version number.
Of course. But think about the timeline here. Have you seen a public launch for Seedance 1.0?
No, I haven't heard of it at all.
Exactly. So 1.0 was likely internal. It was the beta test. 1.0 is usually the hello world, look what we build, it's kind of cool, but it breaks a lot.
And 2.0?
2.0 implies they've already learned the hard lessons. It suggests that while everyone else was playing with these sort of half-baked AI video tools, ByteDance might have already gone through a full product generation internally.
You think they've been testing this on millions of users without anyone realizing?
I think it's highly likely. Maybe some of those TikTok filters were powered by it. They have the ultimate testing ground.
So a 2.0 public reveal isn't an experiment.
No, it's a statement of maturity. It says, We fixed the bugs. We are ready for prime time.
And what are those bugs, really? What's the main difference between a 1.0 AI video and a 2.0?
It's the shimmer, the fact a character's face changes slightly when they turn their head, the physics not making sense.
Right. Gravity working sideways.
1.0 is a hallucination. 2.0 is a simulation.
Which brings us to the biggest, boldest claim in this whole string. The URL says this marks new era of cinematic AI-generated videos.
Cinematic, that's the dangerous word. That's the word doing all the heavy lifting in this slug.
It feels like a marketing buzzword, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Everything is cinematic now. My phone camera claims it's cinematic.
For sure. A drone shot of a parking lot is cinematic if you add slow motion.
Exactly.
But in consumer tech, yeah, it's a buzzword. But in the context of generative AI, cinematic is a very specific technical benchmark. It's the difference between a video game cutscene and something that looks like it was shot on film.
So what does that actually require from an algorithm? If I type "make it cinematic," what is the computer actually trying to do?
It requires intention. I mean, a security camera feed is reality, right? It's high res, it captures what happened, but it's not cinematic.
No, it's flat, it's cold.
Right. Cinema requires specific lighting choices. High dynamic range, deep shadows. It requires depth of field, knowing what to keep in focus and what to blur to guide your eye. And most importantly, it requires temporal stability.
Temporal stability, we touched on this with the seed idea, but break that down.
It just means time flows smoothly. In early AI video, if you asked for a cat walking, the cat might have 3 legs for a second, then 4, then its tail might turn into a puff of smoke.
That immediately breaks the illusion.
Instantly. You're reminded you're watching a glitch. Cinematic implies that object permanence is perfect. The lighting doesn't flicker on the wall. The camera move simulates a real dolly or a crane with actual weight.
Not just a floating disembodied eye moving too fast.
Yes. So by using the word cinematic, ByteDance is claiming they've solved the physics of light, time, and camera weight.
They're claiming they've passed the uncanny valley. They're saying this isn't for memes anymore. This is for storytelling.
And that's the new era part. Mark's new era.
An era is a timeline division.
Exactly. Era 1 was, look, the computer made a weird, funny video. Era 2 is, the computer made a film.
I want to push back a little, though. New era feels like classic press release hyperbole. Every tech company thinks their little update is a new era.
Fair enough.
Is there anything in this breadcrumb that suggests they can actually back it up? Or is it just marketing fluff?
Look at the very end of the string. Here's how.
Here's how. It sounds like clickbait.
Yeah.
Here's how to lose 10 pounds.
It's a technical breakdown. If this was just hype, it would say, see the results or watch the trailer. But here's how implies a methodology. It implies a peek under the hood.
You think they're actually going to explain the architecture?
Not the source code, probably, but the workflow. It suggests that Seedance 2.0 isn't just a black box where you type a prompt and pray. Here's how suggests controls. It suggests the user has agency in the process.
That's a huge distinction.
Right.
If I can control the camera angle, if I can control where the light comes from, that's not generating anymore. That's directing.
Precisely. That's the shift. The new era might be the shift from just prompting, which is like playing a slot machine, to actually directing.
I want to zoom out for a second, back to the source itself. We're looking at a redirect notice. It says the previous page is sending you to, and it's hosted on the news.com.pk.
A Pakistani news domain.
It's an unusual place for a global tech launch, isn't it? It feels leaky, like maybe this wasn't supposed to be found yet.
It really does. It suggests this might have gone live before it was meant to, or a syndication partner jumped the gun. But the fact that it's in a URL structure means the page exists. The search engines have probably already indexed it.
The train has left the station, and the text on that page, the standard boilerplate, if you do not want to visit that page, you can return to the previous page, feels almost philosophical in this context.
It really does. The previous page is the world we live in right now. The world where filmmaking costs millions of dollars, requires huge crews, permits, catering.
And the destination page is Seedance 2.0, a world where you just type a scene and the AI renders it with cinematic fidelity.
And the redirect is automatic. The browser is already loading, the industry is moving, you can try to click back, but the technology is moving forward anyway.
Let's talk about who this is for. If this URL is accurate, and ByteDance drops a tool that creates cinematic video, who is the audience? Hollywood directors or teenagers in their bedrooms.
And that's the ByteDance factor again. Adobe builds for professionals. OpenAI builds For researchers.
But ByteDance builds for everyone.
For everyone. So this could be the democratization of the blockbuster.
If it lives up to the URL slug, yeah. It lowers the barrier to entry for high-fidelity visual storytelling to basically zero.
The only constraint becomes your imagination, not your budget.
But that raises the quality control issue.
Yeah.
We've seen what happens when you lower the barrier to entry for text. You get spam. For images, you get floods of fakes. If we flood the zone with cinematic video, does the word itself lose all meaning?
That is the risk. When everything looks like a Ridley Scott movie, nothing does. Cinematic has prestige because it's scarce. It's hard and expensive to do.
So if a server farm can generate it in seconds, we might need a new word for human-made art.
Or maybe cinematic just becomes the new baseline, like how HD used to be this huge selling point.
Broadcast in HD.
Yeah, and now if something isn't HD, you just think it's broken.
That's probably the most likely outcome. We stop being impressed by good lighting and high resolution because the AI just does it by default. We'll start judging purely on story and emotion, things that are much harder to fake.
Even for Seedance.
I want to circle back to the here's how. If you're a creator, you're waiting for this page to load. What's the one thing you are hoping that how explains? What's the holy grail feature?
Consistency.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I want to know how Seedance 2.0 keeps a character's face the same from scene 1 to scene 20.
Right. Can I cast an actor in the AI and have them star in a whole movie? Or do I get a slightly different person in every shot?
Exactly. Current AI video is great for dream sequences. It's terrible for continuity. If I'm telling a story about a detective, he needs to look like the same guy when he enters the room as when he leaves it.
If they've solved character consistency.
If that's the new era, then the film industry is in for a very, very rough ride.
And ByteDance would be the ones to solve it. I mean, think about the training data they have.
Millions of faces. Millions of hours of video on TikTok to learn from.
They know how to move. They know how light hits a face in a kitchen versus a club versus a park. They have the most diverse data set of human motion on the planet.
It's a technological goldmine. No one else has that specific type of data. Google has YouTube, but that's often long-form, polished, edited stuff.
TikTok is raw. It's raw human data.
So Seedance 20 is basically the crystallized knowledge of a billion TikToks refined into a cinematic engine.
That's an awe-inspiring way to put it. It explains the new era claim, though. No one else has the raw materials to build this specific engine.
Okay, so we've decoded the slug. We have the player ByteDance, the product Seedance 2.0, the promised cinematic AI. But we are still just staring at a redirect notice. We haven't seen anything yet.
We're standing on the precipice. And I guess why dive into this today? Why not wait for the press release or until we can actually play with the tool?
Because the promise is often clearer than the reality. Once it launches, we'll get bogged down in UI complaints, subscription prices, terms of service.
And load speeds.
Right. But right now, in this URL, we have the pure intent. We see what ByteDance wants us to believe is possible.
They want us to believe that the gap between AI and cinema is now closed.
And they're confident enough to put a version number on it and call it a new era.
So for everyone listen, keep an eye on your feeds. If you see the name Seedance, don't just scroll past it.
And look for the how. Don't just watch the pretty lights. Look for the methodology, the controls. That's where the real power is going to be.
It's a strange feeling analyzing a map to a place we haven't reached yet. But I think the map is telling us the terrain is about to change.
The terrain is definitely shifting. The redirect is active.
One final thought before we wrap up. We talked about cinematic as a visual style, but cinema is also about a shared experience, right? It's about sitting in a dark room with strangers, all reacting to the same moment at the same time.
That's true. The communal aspect.
Can an AI generate that? Can Seedance generate a cultural moment? Or does it just generate content?
That is the one thing the URL doesn't promise. It promises cinematic video, not cinema. The community, the culture, that feeling of we're all watching this together, that's still on us.
That's still on the humans distributing and sharing it.
An vital distinction.
The tool can make the image, but we still have to make the meaning.
Well said.
This has been a fascinating look at, well, just a string of text. ByteDance's Seedance 20 marks, new era of cinematic ad-generated videos, here's how. A redirect notice that might just be a historical document.
Or, a very interesting 404 error if we're wrong.
Let's hope the link works. Thanks for taking this dive with us. Follow the redirect, and we'll see you on the other side. This has been The Deep Dive. Catch you next time.